When analyzing people, a division is usually made between physical and mental maturity. While physical maturity is developed during puberty, mental maturity is due to a variety of character traits. Many people have not reached mental maturity in some of these points, even at an advanced age. In today's video, we've summarized 10 clear signals of how to recognize immature people. If you like our videos, feel free to support us with a thumbs up, subscribe to Psychology in Mind, activate the little bell to get notified about the videos we upload for you every day. Number 1. Constant repetition of the same mistakes and behaviors. You learn from your mistakes, goes the old adage. So anyone who repeatedly acts out the same negative character traits without changing, who constantly succumbs to their vices, and who puts their foot in their mouth over and over again, is obviously incapable of learning from the resulting consequences. This sign of mental immaturity is more widespread than one might think. Especially when emotions are involved, the same bad decisions are repeatedly made by a large part of humanity. Strongly associated with this behavior is the inability to admit mistakes. This point may be due to overconfidence or lack of self-reflection. Number 2. Chronic lying. Unfortunately, this case also occurs far too often. People create a world for themselves that is built on a shaky construct of lies. These range from simple little white lies to massive distortions of the truth. Life-threatening illnesses can be invented just to attract attention, or negative developments are concealed from friends and family in order to make oneself look better. Behind this point is often an exaggerated need for recognition, but also an exaggerated negative view of one's own life. In the long run, such a lie construct can never last. Those who nevertheless insist on it show clear signs of mental immaturity. Number 3. Always be the center of attention. Social interactions are based on reciprocity. The various participants should be given equal space to reveal their person, their successes, but also their problems. Those who constantly push themselves into the center of attention thus disturb the balance of these interpersonal relationships. It doesn't matter exactly how one draws attention to oneself. It can be through conspicuous activities, for example, being a class clown or controlling conversations. This is how those who constantly talk only about themselves without leaving room for the other person's personal experiences show that they have not yet understood the concepts of social relationships and thus must be considered mentally immature. Number 4. Being a bad listener. This behavior is very closely related to the point just mentioned. There are many people who are among the most active and gifted talkers imaginable. However, this is only true when they are talking about themselves. The moments others take the floor, their thoughts wander, and it is difficult for them to follow the conversation. This is a widespread problem, especially in partnerships. Inevitably, one of the parties feels underappreciated and rightly neglected in conversations. Number 5. Doesn't support others. Everyone certainly knows people like this. When it comes down to supporting their partner, family, or friends, they suddenly disappear. It doesn't matter whether it's physical help, for example with moving, an intellectual task, or moral support. Our society is very much based on mutual assistance. Left to our own devices, we are neither physically nor psychologically capable of survival. So anyone who gladly and frequently accepts support from family and friends themselves, but does not return these favors, is breaking one of society's most important unwritten laws. Number 6. Bullying. There is an even more extreme case that often occurs in schools, universities, and workplaces. Not only is support denied, but other people's lives are actively made more difficult. By ostracizing people or deliberately spreading negative talk, regardless of its truthfulness, the reputation of people in larger groups is diminished. On a small scale, this is done by all of us every day, unintentionally or unconsciously. However, some people engage in deliberate bullying. They feel stronger and better about themselves when they can badmouth other people. By lowering the self-esteem of others, they strengthen their own. This extremely antisocial behavior is a sure sign of mental immaturity. Number 7, lack of impulse control. Our society is built on numerous rules of social interaction. Many things that are allowed or even desired in certain situations are completely inappropriate in others. We learn these social concepts as young children and are exposed to them on a daily basis. In order to adapt, certain behaviors must occasionally be suppressed. The magic word is impulse control. Some people, however, do not have this control. They burst out with macabre stories on the most inappropriate occasions and put their foot in their mouth again and again. Rarely is unthinking behavior responsible for this. Much more often, the reason is purely selfish behavior. Number 8, inappropriate insults. Nothing demonstrates immaturity more than the lack of ability to engage in constructive argument. In any interpersonal relationship, a point of disagreement inevitably occurs. The desired outcome is a discussion in which both sides present their point of view and support it with appropriate arguments so that a mutually understandable and acceptable approach can be found. However, many people are not capable of such compromises. Instead of factual discussions, it's exaggerated blame, flimsy excuses, and, in the worst case, insults that follow, insults that have no connection with the actual problem. Especially in relationships, this point is very dangerous, because the better someone knows a person, the meaner, more targeted, and more accurate these insults can be. Number 9, refusal to apologize. This sign of mental immaturity is also closely related to the lack of ability to conduct factual discussion. However, the element of exaggerated self-confidence enters here. Here, one cannot be made responsible for the mishap at all because one does not make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you don't have to apologize for anything. This problem is perpetuated by lack of self-reflection. Behind a relatively harmless seeming point are thus several factors which in themselves can already be signs of immature people. Number 10. Rash spending. So far, all signs of mental immaturity have been due to a lack of social interaction skills. However, another sign can be found in behaviors that do not involve other people. People who spontaneously make large expenditures usually act very rashly. While these behaviors have less serious consequences for people with a regular and sufficient income, they can lead to massive cuts in everyday life for poorer people. So anyone who spontaneously gives in to their fleeting desires and makes major purchases without being aware of the impact they will have on their own future life is acting very immaturely. Our conclusion: immature actions have consequences for the person themselves and anyone further involved. Acting with an egocentric perspective is behind each of these traits. Here, one's own abilities are overestimated, and the importance of oneself or the momentary desires is given too high importance. Consideration for other people is not possible in this scenario. It is shown that mental maturity is very strongly connected with the ability to estimate the consequences of actions. It is also necessary to follow social rules in order not to be branded as a selfish outsider.
Thanks for watching. Did you find this information helpful? Do you have experience with it? We would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts.